Yeah. Hi, my name is Khadija Ismayilova. I'm an investigative journalist. I do investigate fortune of my president and his family. And I discovered several offshore companies in Panama through which they hide their business interests in Azerbaijan and in other countries. And together with my colleagues, we also found where they invest their money. It's British Virgin Islands, different offshores, and Europe, Dubai and Europe. In Czech Republic, for example, the president's daughter and father-in-law has a lot of had multi-million property. Next story that will come will about the multi-million property in United Kingdom of president's family. Basically, we have to admit that the presidents of the post-Soviet countries, for example, Mr. Putin, Mr. Aliyev, Mr. Nazarbayev, even Mr. Lukashenko, they have more money than Angela Merkel, all the presidents of Western Europe altogether. And actually, this is a source. This is, for some reason, it's not a source of shame for them. It's a source of pride. And I personally have been witness of one pair of our oligarchs speaking about his experience of bribing a policeman in London. And he's been saying that, what are you talking about? Like Europe? I can tell you how I bribed a policeman in London. They do take bribes. And I wonder if their fathers also share their experience of bribing European politicians in Council of Europe and basically having these anecdotes of bribing European politicians. I don't know if they share those stories among each other and if that's a fun story for them. But I want to thank the politicians here for proving that not everyone can be bought. And thank you for this. Thank you for letting us to tell the story of Europe, which you cannot buy, because this story is more and more difficult to say in Azerbaijan. Why I brought this picture? I don't know how many of you know about the tale of Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin on fishermen and goldfish. Basically, the guy catches a fish, and fish fulfills the three dreams of the fisherman. So I don't know whether the fisherman was who was the fisherman and whether the fish was true, but the sea was definitely a Caspian Sea. And when our president came and caught this fish and asked to solve all these problems, fish said, you need just two things. You don't need three dreams. You need just two things. It's oil and caviar. And so basically Caspian Sea provides two main commodities that are being used for bribing and convincing in Europe. So we are talking about political prisoners in Azerbaijan, and I want to share the latest news with you. Today, the penitentiary system's website posted a letter, the letter you can see here, by Bakhtiar Aliyev, this guy. He's one of the 8 NIDA prisoners. These guys are imprisoned, like the NIDA case is based on their protest actions in January 2013, 1 year ago. They protested non-combat deaths, non-combat mortality in army. Basically, soldiers in Azerbaijani army were dying because of corruption and mismanagement. And these guys staged protests, like mainly 8 people, like not this particular guy, but Nida was on the lead of those protests. And what happened next? The government, the government suppressed the protest actions. There were several of them. I was also detained in one of those protests and sentenced to pay fine and then street sweeping for attending a rally. But these guys later were arrested and they were sentenced to 6 to 8 years in prison. And one of them, one of the young and non-leading members of NIDA, now writes a letter saying that while in prison, he found himself, realized that he has been implementing wrong ideas of provocateurs, and he demands from relevant structures not to relate political prisoner notions to him. And last sentence is, I don't mind publication of this letter in mass media. And this letter appeared on the website of the government's penitentiary system. And another letter, they claim, was sent to the president where he asks for pardon. And he thinks this letter will come. Well, this letter is, we collect these letters because it's a literature of oppression. It reminds us the Stalin time. And what would make Stalin pale in comparison with Aliyev is this case of Mr. Dashkin Melikov. He's a young activist. He used to be very active in Facebook. He's one of the Facebook prisoners. He was a member of the Popular Front Party. And he wrote a similar letter, and this is what happened. He was pardoned, and with a convoy, he was brought to the cemetery where Heydar Aliyev, the father of Ilham Aliyev's grave is, and that was the price for his freedom. He had to lay flowers to Heydar Aliyev and his late wife's grave. So you have to lay flowers to president's father and mother's graves to get him free from prison. This is the youth act. So who is getting in prison? These are the youth activists. Why they got in prison? Because they were popular and because they were not controlled. And they dared to stage rallies. After the rallies, the government actually had to change the Minister of Defense. Well, it didn't change the system and it didn't help to improve much, but at least there was some attention to the situation in army, and in the past year we had 20 deaths less in the army than in all previous years. So the soldier mortality, non-combat soldier mortality was skyrocketing in the past years, and it went down last year because the government had to pay attention because of these guys' protests, because the protest actions organized by these guys. But the government doesn't like people who make them to make changes, and these guys were arrested, and these are the figures here are actually show how long are these sentences. Gerald has told about this case, and Turgut was also speaking about this case. And I want to reiterate something that Turgut was telling you. It's about the support to the political prisoners' families. Well, we try to collect every month money to support the families, including these ones. And in fact, I'm writing about corruption. I criticize corruption. And then family of the political prisoner comes, the mother comes and says she needs money because she needs to bribe a prison guard to convince him to open the window in summer because her son, who has asthma, needs to breathe. To bribe a prison guard to open a window. The window should be open all the time. That's a prison rule. There is no prison rule that prevents it. But you have to pay for this. It's a privilege in that prison. So these kind of, and I can't say to mother, no, corruption is bad, you shouldn't pay bribes. I can't tell that because prison is probably not the best place to fight corruption instead of when you have an issue of survival. This is another kind of prisoner. He's one of the Facebook prisoners. Abdullah Bilov is a young activist. He is imprisoned because he had a very popular page that was called Let's Stop Psychophants, like ass kissers, sorry about the bad language. And the page was popular, and the guy was very active also in crowdsourcing information from the citizen journalists. And he got arrested. And this is what he said in his final speech in the court. He said, my grandfather, prominent cleric, was arrested in 1937, Stalin's time, together with the poet Mikhail Mushkin. Today the heirs, the grandsons of those who did or welcomed repressions in Stalin's times want us to live without freedoms like in 1937. So Abdullah Bilov is sentenced to 5.5 years in fake drug charges. I attended only one hearing on his case, and this is what I heard in that hearing. Policemen who basically there was no proof. The lawyer, the defense lawyer, was proving that police couldn't make a search in his apartment because they didn't have proper documents. Police claimed that Abilov himself invited police to come to his apartment to do a search and find drugs. This is another ridiculous case. He's also a Facebook prisoner, Omar Mammadov. He was an admin of Selected from Us TV page, where they've been mocking the Us TV propaganda of Aliyev's. And here is what we have from his court trial. We've learned in the court trial that his father and he himself were invited to anti-organized crime unit of Interior Ministry twice before he got arrested, and there they've been warned about online activity of Omar. And then he was arrested on a drug charge. Indictment claims that he was selling drugs in Baku, but they chose the wrong timing for this claim because according to the indictment he was selling drugs in Baku, but according to his passport, Omar Mammadov's passport, he was in Cyprus then. And another thing, the witness, and his name is Nurmar Ramov, who came to the court to tell that he actually saw Omar Mammadov selling drugs. That's his job. He is witnessing in the court, and simultaneously his name appears in several other court trials where he's serving as a witness. So he's what we call штатный свидетель. It's like witness on duty for the president. This is another guy. He's my colleague, Abbas Zainalli. He got 9 years of jail and 1 year suspension of professional activity on a fake bribery charge. He is editor-in-chief of Kural newspaper, and actually he was arrested after fact-checking President Aliyev's interview to Al Jazeera. His story proved that Aliyev was lying in every single sentence of his interview. And then he got arrested, and the claim that he was demanding bribe comes from this woman. She's on the left with the face to us. She's Gular Ahmedova, ruling party MP. She was recently in jail for several months only because, and this is the screenshot from it's a still from the video. In this video, she was demanding 1 million for appointing someone an MP from ruling party. So she was negotiating the price of becoming MP, member of parliament in Azerbaijan, with the candidate. What happened after? 1 million manat was given to her. Then the guy was announced a winner in the elections, but the opposition gave all the proofs that he was not elected. And in that particular case, basically the government decided that he's not that important, and they dumped him. The election results were cancelled, annulled. What happened after? She didn't return the money, and that's why he decided to release the video after several years of demanding his money. And then she was found guilty for a fraud, not for the state crime, like selling the parliament seats or whatever. For a fraud, she was found guilty, and she spent only several months in prison. Several months. Her sentence was 3 years, and she spent not a full year. But we have these guys, Anar Mamadli and Bashir Suleymanli. They are in jail for reporting election fraud, and Anar Mamadli's verdict is 5.5 years. So this is the kind of justice we have. I'm going through another investigation, and basically there were questions if I will be allowed to leave the country, because I'm being interrogated in the case of revealing the state secrets. And so there are two components in the case. One is my meeting with the US Senate staffers, which our government thinks they could be CIA agents. And second is me revealing this document. I posted this on Facebook, and this is, I don't know if that's authentic document or what. When I posted it on Facebook, I wrote that I don't know if it's document or not. It's been sent to me by former employee of the Ministry of National Security. He lives in France now, so I could tell his name. He allowed me to name him. Rabin Nagiyev. So he sent me this file, and this file is the report of the Ministry of National Security employee to his boss, as it is claimed on the paper. And in this report, the guy says that within the plan of controlling opposition, we agreed with this opposition party member, that we will pay him 600 manats, which is equal to 600 euros, a month, and he will report us about things in opposition, and will create conflicts whenever we will need it. And so we agreed that we will pay him for that. And as a mean of additional pressure on him, so just to make sure that he will not slip out, we have his video of non-traditional sex with multiple partners. That's what this paper says, and I erased all the names and information that could identify the guy's name, because I don't know if that's a fact, and I don't want to intrude to someone else's privacy, if that's truth. But, it didn't stop Azeri government when they intruded my privacy and planted a video camera in my bedroom and then blackmailed me with that video. Well, anyways, this was another proof that the government of Azerbaijan, the Ministry of National Security, was actually using these methods against opposition and regimes. Anyways, what happened next? As I said, I was not sure that it's a document. I was not sure that it's an authentic piece of paper. I was not sure, but State Prosecutor's Office proved that it is. They opened a criminal case on revealing a state secret based on me posting this document. So if that's a state secret, it means that it's a document. So this is what happened. Now after a first interrogation, when I went out and to the press and said, well, I found out that this is a document, I should thank the prosecutor's office for that. Well, after the first interrogation, they understood that they've done something wrong. They shouldn't have opened this criminal case. Anyways, it's already done. Well, this is the kind of state secrets our government has. And here's the list of people who are in prisons now. And some of these groups are in the lists of political prisoners, which some people in Europe and in Azerbaijan have doubts about. It's human rights activists in regions and in the capital. There are no doubts about them. Politicians, election monitors, bloggers, and we have one group that is being argued a lot about. It's Islamists. Well, I have to say that we do have militant Islamists in prisons, but our talk is not about them. The list of political prisoners includes several dozens of moderate Islamists. Islamists who didn't promote any violence, who did not say that they want a Sharia state in Azerbaijan, who said that they want their daughters to be able to go to school in their headscarves, and they protested for that, peacefully protested for that. And the group and the clerics who were popular and not controlled by the Ministry of National Security and some religious groups of the government. So these people actually are the kind of Islamists who would actually be able to promote the moderate Islam in Azerbaijan, non-violent Islamists in Azerbaijan. But they are in prison, and by putting them in jail, the government of Azerbaijan actually made Muslims of the country very angry. And now there is an ongoing debate in Islamist community of Azerbaijan whether the moderate ways of Islam they've been promoting was the right thing. Maybe we should go and look for other ways of promoting our Islamic views. So by jailing moderate and pro-independence people just for being popular and not controlled by the government actually pushes the religious community to seeking for new, more radical ways of the. I think my time is out, and I want to thank you, Mr. McNamara, Mr. Strasser, and other European politicians who help us to prove that Europe is about values. It's not just about crooked politicians.